Good evening, and this is Robert welcoming you from the Gupchup channel on this long Easter weekend. While we spend time at home in self-isolation, let us do some mindful cooking and enjoy our own company. I take this opportunity to wish you and your families a very happy and safe Easter. Today we're going to cook up a prawn and pumpkin curry. The ingredients for this dish: 500 grams raw prawns, 4 large dried red chilies, or if you don't have red chilies, you can use chili flakes, or in this instance, I've used 2 fresh red chilies because they're hot. 1 teaspoon cumin powder, 2 medium onions roughly chopped, 4 cloves garlic, 1 small piece ginger, 1 teaspoon ground turmeric, 1 teaspoon black pepper, 2 teaspoons of ground coriander, 3 tablespoons oil, 3 to 5 cherry tomatoes, salt to taste, vinegar to taste, a teaspoon of sugar, and my secret ingredient, 1 tablespoon of dried prawns. Now, if you don't have dried prawns, you can very easily use fish sauce. And last but not least, half a pumpkin cubed. Now the first thing to do is to, in a blender, blend the ginger, garlic, onions, dried prawns, and the red chilies. In a heavy base steel pan, heat the 3 tablespoons of oil on a medium flame. Once the oil starts to bubble, add in the blended mixture, and at once you will hear this roar of combustion taking place, which is the hot oil and the moisture that comes out of the blended mixture. Once this blended mixture has been fried for a few minutes, then start to add the other ground spices. Add the coriander, then add the cumin powder, at this point in time, still reduce the heat because you don't want the spices to stick to the pan. Add the black pepper in, the turmeric powder, and voila, you are now going to start some magic to happen in the pan. Give these ingredients a good stir and allow the rawness of the spices to come through. Let this sit in the pan for a few minutes and you will see a different color as the spices start to roast in the pan. And you know now that the pan is ready for another ingredient, the cherry tomatoes. And wow, look at the color of the tomatoes against the spices. And this is now going to give you a very, very nice aroma, and at the same time the tomatoes are going to add a certain sweetness and sourness into this dish. Add a little water to the pan because we want the tomatoes to cook a little bit along with the spices. We're soon going to cover the pan and allow the tomatoes and the spices to cook for a few minutes on a medium flame. After a few minutes, lift the lid and then have a look at whether the tomatoes are starting to mash up. If they aren't, start to squeeze the tomatoes, and there you go. You can see the juices just oozing out of the tomatoes. Give this a good stir and let the juice of the tomatoes continue to mingle in with the spices that we have roasting in the pan. We're now going to add the cubed pumpkin into the heavily fried tomatoes and blended mixture in the pan, and we're going to stir the pumpkin so that all the spices get coated and get infused into the pumpkin. Keep stirring this and tossing this around in the pan for a few minutes till you see the color of the pumpkin just changing into a slightly darker orange color. Add a little water to the mixture and then cover the pan with the lid and allow the pumpkin to cook along with the juices in the pan. After about 5 minutes, remove the lid and then add the vinegar into the pan. I've used about 3 to 4 tablespoons of vinegar because I particularly like it a little sour. You can then add some sugar. Now, sugar is a very important ingredient when one is cooking prawns. To bring out the flavor of the prawns, one must use a little bit of sugar in any prawn preparation. And that's just my tip. Could be controversial, but I believe it brings out the prawn taste. The sugar really extracts it. Once the sugar has melted and is in with the other ingredients, you can then put the lid back on and let this cook for a few minutes more so that the pumpkin starts to just be soft. I mean, you don't want the pumpkin to be overcooked. So this is the trick. The pumpkin should not be overcooked. Now get ready to add the most important ingredient, and this is the prawns. I normally use Australian prawns, either tiger prawns, or you can have green prawns or banana prawns. These are green tiger prawns that I have shelled. They've been deveined, and now I'm adding it into the mixture. Toss this, and there once again you can see different colors. And be mindful of these colors because cooking is a very, very sacred aspect of one's lives, and one could have a very mindful presence while cooking. Cover the pan again, reduce the heat, and now let the prawns cook. And as you can see, the prawns have changed color. From that white silvery color, the prawns are starting to get a bit yellow and a bit pink and a bit orange. Prawns should not be overcooked, so therefore I would suggest that one cooks prawns for maybe about 5 to 7 minutes max on a medium flame. And last of all, I'm adding some chili flakes because once again I'm a chili-holic and I love chili, so I've put fresh red chilies, and I'm also putting dried chili flakes to really spice up this dish. Stir the chilies in with the mixture, and there you have it, prawn and pumpkin curry. Give this a go for your long Easter weekend. I'm sure you will enjoy this dish. And please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Anglo Indian Gupchup channel, to see many more recipes